The restaurant was quieter than I expected for a Friday. Low voices, cutlery touching plates with deliberate care. It felt like a place designed for conclusions, not arguments. We had eaten here on anniversaries, when we still believed ritual could protect us from drift. She waited until the server walked away before speaking. No preamble, no softening. I'm leaving you. She didn't look at me when she said it. Her eyes stayed on the table, as if the words were something she had set down between us and now refused to touch again. I remember noticing how evenly she breathed. That was the first thing, the calm. Not relief, not cruelty, just readiness. Whatever she had been rehearsing, she'd practiced until the tremor was gone. I didn't ask why. Not because I didn't care, but because my mind went elsewhere, the way it always did when I felt cornered. I cataloged details instead. The crease in the napkin she kept folding and unfolding, the reflection of the overhead light in her glass, the familiar distance that had crept into her voice months ago, now fully claimed. I was forming a response, something restrained, something that would let me exit with dignity when she froze. It wasn't dramatic, no gasp, just a sudden stillness like someone had pressed pause on her. Her gaze lifted past my shoulder. I turned. A man stood near the host's stand, jacket still on, scanning the room with the practiced focus of someone used to finding people who don't want to be found. He wasn't looking at us yet. He was checking a tablet, confirming something. I knew who he was before he noticed our table. When his eyes met mine, there was a brief professional recognition. Then he nodded, almost imperceptibly, and walked toward us. My wife's hand tightened around her glass. That was the second thing I noticed, the first visible crack. "Good evening," the man said. His voice was calm, unobtrusive, meant not to alarm anyone nearby. "Sorry to interrupt. Are you Emma Clark?" She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes flicked to me, then back to him. In that fraction of a second, I saw calculation replace certainty. "Yes," she said finally. "Who's asking?" He showed her his badge, keeping it low, angled away from other diners. Authority, introduced without spectacle. "My name is Daniel Morris. I'm with the Financial Conduct Authority. We spoke briefly on the phone last month. You didn't return my follow-up emails." Silence expanded around us, heavy but contained. No one else was listening. The restaurant had its own small mercies. "I don't think this is appropriate," she said. Her voice held, but only just. "We're in the middle of a private conversation." "I understand," he replied. "This will only take a moment. We've been trying to reach you regarding discrepancies tied to accounts opened under your previous surname. The words landed softly and rearranged everything. I felt something in me shift, not triumph, not anger, but recognition. Moments I had dismissed resurfaced with new clarity. The evasions when I asked about her old job, the defensiveness around finances, the way she'd insisted on handling certain documents herself. None of it had seemed damning at the time. Now it felt coherent. "I told you," she said, her composure thinning. "That was years ago." That was resolved. Daniel didn't argue. He didn't need to. New information came to light, he said. "We'll need you to come in on Monday. Your cooperation will be noted." He glanced at me then, just briefly, as if acknowledging my presence mattered to the process, even if it didn't require my participation. "I'll leave my card," he said, placing it gently on the table. "Please don't leave the country." He stepped away as quietly as he'd arrived. My wife stared at the card. She didn't touch it. Around us, life resumed its volume. Glasses clinked. Someone laughed too loudly at another table. The server hovered, unsure whether to approach. She sat back, the practiced certainty gone. What remained wasn't fear exactly. It was exposure. "You knew," she said to me, not accusing, but searching. I shook my head. No, that was the truth. But there was another truth underneath. It that some part of me had always sensed a version of her I wasn't invited to know and had chosen not to press. She exhaled slowly, as if recalibrating. This changes things. Yes, I said. It does. She waited, perhaps expecting anger, leverage, a reversal. I gave her none of it. I won't stop you from leaving, I continued. But I won't cover for you. Not now, not later. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even a boundary I'd consciously prepared. It was simply the point at which my silence ended. The server returned. Asked if we wanted dessert? We both declined. She gathered her coat, movements less certain than before. The script she'd brought to dinner no longer applied. As she stood, she hesitated. Not long enough to be dramatic, long enough to understand that whatever control she'd expected to wield tonight had shifted, somewhere she couldn't reach. I stayed seated as she walked away. The food went cold. The evening concluded without ceremony. I didn't feel victorious. I felt altered, as if a version of myself, complicit through inattention, had quietly left the table with her. What remained was unfinished but intact.